Hi everyone, welcome to LaLa Land. Today I'm joined by the creative and amazing, phenomenal Hanan Shams. Hanan, we are so glad that you're here.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
It's honestly such a pleasure having you.
Okay.
Hanan Shams is a graduate of Fine Arts in Egypt with a bachelor degree in interior architecture. She also has a master's from UFT in Near Middle Eastern Studies and a master's from American University in Cairo in art and architecture. On top of all of that, she did a fellowship at American Research Center in Egypt in documenting the works of the renowned architect Hassan Fathi. She also has a strong passion for fashion and is in fact very talented. She inspires me every day with her hard work ethic and creativity. She's honestly just amazing, and it's so amazing to have you here today.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much, LaLa.
So we are going to get into some really interesting topics today around ADD. So do you want to start off by telling me a little bit about your experiences having ADD and what that might have been like growing up in Cairo?
So I grew up in Cairo. I lived there for about 28 years before I actually moved to Canada. And growing up, of course, ADD was not known. So I was always thought as lazy, inconsistent, not really focused. And the inconsistency happened because during primary school and stuff like that, we had tests and quizzes every month for all the subjects. So one month I would get 100% in one subject, and the next month, which would encompass some of the stuff that already had been studied, I would get a 60%. So my teachers didn't understand what was happening. So they just said, oh, she's just a little bit lazy, she's not studying, she's just not focused, stuff like that. And of course my parents, ADD was not known as a thing. So I had to struggle with that all my life. But I was very driven. And I really wanted to be successful, or at least, I'm not a competitive person on the outside. I compete with my own self. That's my personality. I put standards for myself, and or targets, and I tried to meet them. And I always was a people pleaser, and I wanted my parents to be very happy with me and my accomplishments, because they were very accomplished. And it's not like they forced me into something, but it's just psychological thing, internally. So that was a struggle for me, because I always wanted them to be proud of me. So I had to struggle to actually work harder. I think the school I went to, the American school in Cairo for girls, the way it was structured, it kind of helped the ADD in a way, because there was some sort of every month there's a quiz on all subjects. There was always a follow-up, and there was a routine, which is, I think nowadays is, I'm not an expert on ADD, but is explained by executive functioning, and people who take executive functioning courses, coaching and stuff like that. So it kind of was, I was going through the executive coaching thing without really knowing that it is executive coaching, and that was the structure of my school. So it helped me become not a top student, but a good student. Then in grade 9, I decided to do what's called the IGCSE, which is a British certificate where you jump 2 years in one to go university young. And because that was not structured, it was very difficult for me, because it was mostly you study on your own, you go to classes and you study more like now, very more independent, exactly. Very much like now, a lot of the works in school now, you go to classes and stuff like that, but there's a lot of independent research. My primary school was not independent research. You had topics, you studied them, and you had an exam in them. So there wasn't a lot of this. So when I moved to the IGCSE, which is a lot of independent work, it was a struggle. Somehow I made it through, and then I applied, and I went to fine arts. The majority of courses in fine arts were mostly practical stuff. The couple of theories were the hardest, because I remember when I was in university, I was pretty young, I was 16 when I entered. So I was whenever I'm reading something, and a lot of times I would have a marker or a pen or something just to follow. I would daydream. Some word would come, and that word would be interesting to me or whatever, and then I go on tangents. And my mom would walk in, and there would be a big blob of ink. Why the blob? Because my hand, my finger my hand just stopped on that word, and I went into LaLa Land. Exactly. And went into my LaLa Land, and the ink just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's a great place to go to.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't good in that way, in terms of finishing the stuff. So my best friend, Mariam, growing up, she's the type who loves to study and almost sing the stuff, like make it into a song so that she would memorize. That was perfect for me because I had auditory skills, so I was able to memorize by saying. So we'd study together all the theory stuff, and she would just like sing out or talk out that stuff, and I was just like listening and then getting the information in and memorizing it. And that was my struggle through university, the theory. The other practical stuff, because it's an ongoing practical, like you're moving from one design to the other, to another level of solving problems in the design, that was not a challenge for me, because my mind had to, the creative aspect of my mind was constantly, enriched and active and happy about it. So I was not bored. So that part was good. So I would say the ADD struggle for me was the theory, reading stuff. It was very difficult because I have so many interests, like really so many interests. And whenever I would read something and I find something interesting, I'd go on a tangent and just start either researching in it or thinking about it, or, so it was just difficult. I remember my dad, sometimes he would come into my room and I'll be just staring at the ceiling, and he would say, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Studying." I was like, "Studying by staring at the ceiling." Yeah, it's in my head. So I think that's part of the ADD struggle, that I didn't know that it was ADD. I just thought I was just whatever. Maybe I was that kind of a person, lazy, or in Arabic they would say لعبية, and she just likes to play around and not focus on stuff like that. That was going through my undergrad. I finished my undergrad and I actually I did my master's degree in the American University in Cairo first. And before I started my master's, I actually worked as an interior designer for a while. And then I kind of shifted my career. I love history. And I remember even you'll find my ADD in my talking. I'll be going back and forth into stories.
I love it.
Stories have been always something I love. Like I remember in KG, it's actually written in I still have my little certificate about it. She's clean, she's tidy, she's like when I was 3 years old. But one of the things is she doesn't like to read with us, but when it's story time, she would be so quiet and mesmerized. Because a lot of times were stories about fairy tales or parts of history when we were little, like as history that like is kosher enough for little kids, for 3-year-olds. And so I knew I've always loved stories and history. So anyway, after I graduated, I worked as an interior designer for a while, and then I decided to shift career a little bit and to work in adaptive reuse of monuments. And I discovered that was the greatest shift in career that I ever did, even though I still love interior design. And I did done my master's at the AUC in the Middle Eastern art and architecture and archaeology. And I started working in adaptive use of monuments. During this time, I don't know if it was the type of work, but it was very good. Like I didn't really feel that I was having any issues like before when I was in primary school or even through university. The type of work I was doing, there was a lot of practical work, there was restoration of monuments, there was research work that was interesting. So I would say it goes down to, are you really interested in the stuff? Then you will hyper-focus. And I was able to hyper-focus for longer periods of time. Then I moved to Canada. And it was a little bit difficult for me because it's a very different culture, the lifestyle, which is very different in Egypt. But
So you mentioned that you find yourself daydreaming a lot.
Yeah.
And although that can be difficult, I'm sure there were benefits. Can you share did you feel like there were any benefits?
When I was younger in primary school, there was no benefits. It was more, unfortunately, harmful. The daydreaming is not going to get you the mark that you need to succeed. When I went to fine arts, all of my daydreaming was related to artistic stuff. So it was fine in fine arts because I chose that field. But in my primary school, no.
So aside from like academically, what about outside of school? Has ADD helped you or has it held you back?
Outside of school, when I was young, I was always thought of as very creative. The creative aspect helped me because I was able to focus on that. And the ADD helped me in that. Outside of school, when I was young, Other than that, no. It was the creative aspect that only helped me.
You mentioned that academics was such a big part of culture in Egypt, and it's something that you really struggled with. So did that change the way that you viewed success? It was difficult.
Yeah.
So how did you look at success?
So for me, I defined success. I'm able to do this hard work without the struggles I have.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I thought it was a personality thing. I didn't think it was a brain thing.
Was there a point where you were like, okay, this isn't right? And were you able to find something that truly satisfied you on a level where you felt very accomplished and like you had reached a point of success?
I think it was during my PhD. Just hard work, you know? And it was such a dry subject, lots and lots and lots of reading, and you have to be hyper focused. I just said, you know what? I need to quit. I need to quit this. I'm not happy. I'm miserable. I'm not enjoying my work. It took me a year and a half to come to terms with, I need to quit. I need to quit. I stopped working for a year and a half on it. I couldn't focus. I couldn't work. Psychologically, I felt, am I stupid? After a year and a half of thinking about this, I said, I just can't. I just can't. After 2 years from that, I was talking to my professor in the American University in Cairo. So what did you do? Like, did you write anything? So I said, yeah, I have this and this and this. You should publish. And that was years ago. Like, I have stuff, lots of stuff that's very valuable, but I can't publish because I can't get myself to do it. So that's another struggle of ADD, because I lost interest. I don't think like a lot of people would say, like, okay, pay someone to do it for you, like just do the sketches for you and but I don't know if anybody can read my gibberish. Like, you know, it's like, it's hard. It's only me because it's an ADD work.
Because you understand it.
I understand what I was doing, but I still can't.
It makes me like sad because I'm like, you're like such an inspiring person to me, and I'm like, I can't imagine that you felt less than somebody else because like maybe they had more or they had an easier time in school. I just want to ask you, like, do you have any advice for anybody that's like pushing themselves to this like level that's just over the top and just have this mindset that they're simply not good enough until they do a certain something?
Don't be hard on yourself. Don't, because now after my diagnosis, now it makes a lot of things make sense to me now. And now I look at it as a superpower. Now I realize that the way I'm wired is different. So find the thing you love and that keeps you happy in your focus and you're unfocused, and try and build on it. 100%. When your kid is young, work on the work habits and the work ethics, because that will help them get through the difficulty. It's going to be a continuous difficulty. Whether you choose the route of medication or not, when you're young, primary schools, do executive coaching and keep it going. Don't stop. And on the side, I would urge the parents to try and find something that their kid is really, really good at, and they can identify it and build on it. So that part, their confidence in that part would like really grow, and they don't feel less of themselves. And if they're diagnosed with ADD, they should know that they have a superpower.
Beautiful advice, because this is like exactly what LaLa Land is all about. It's all about finding yourself, finding your confidence, finding what you're good at, and putting in the work to achieve it. So thank you so much for all of this amazing advice. And LaLa Land, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. If you are struggling with ADD or ADHD, I really hope this episode was a source of comfort for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Laila. Love you. Bye.